A cruise adventure to remember. The rain gently tapped against the window, a soft lullaby that set the perfect mood for a cozy storytelling session. Grandma Clara sat in her plush armchair. The gentle wrinkles around her Lara began. Are you ready to hear a tale about the grandest adventure your Uncle Leo and I had on a holiday cruise when we were your age? Sophie's eyes lit up. Yes, Grandma. Tell us everything. And so, Grandma Clara leaned back, her voice drifting into a story that seemed to transport them all back in time. Young Leo and Clara had been buzzing with excitement for weeks before their family's cruise holiday. They had never been on a ship before, and the idea of sailing on a huge floating hotel through the ocean was thrilling. The cruise was set to depart from a sun-kissed port, and their first stop was a famous tropical island with golden sands and crystal-clear water. Leo was 11 and had an adventurous spirit, constantly looking for excitement and mysteries to solve. Clara, his older sister at 13, was a bit more cautious, but just as curious. She adored her little brother, even though his wild ideas often led them both into amusing and occasionally messy situations. The day of the cruise finally arrived. Leo and Clara stood at the pier with their parents, birds, and the hum of excited passengers around them. Whoa, Leo breathed, his eyes wide as he took in the sheer size of the cruise liner. This thing is a monster. Clara chuckled, tugging at her suitcase. Better watch out, or you might get lost. The ship was every bit as grand on the inside. There were bright, golden lights, plush red carpets, and hallways that seemed to stretch on forever. They found their room, which had cozy beds and even a small porthole where they could look out at the endless blue sea. Look, Clara. Leo pointed out the window. We're really out in the middle of the ocean. There's nothing but water as far as I can see. Wandered around, they came across two other kids, a girl named Ruby and her little brother, Oliver. Ruby was the same age as Clara, with long brown hair and a mischievous sparkle in her eye. Oliver, who was only a year younger than Leo, was quieter but had an easy smile and a knack for noticing little details. Before long, the four kids were inseparable, running up and down the ship's decks, giggling and exploring every nook and cranny. One evening after dinner, they found themselves gathered on the top deck, looking out at the star-filled sky. They could feel the ship gently rocking beneath them, and the ocean around them was dark and mysterious. Did you know, Ruby whispered, leaning in, that they say some old cruise ships are haunted? Oliver gave her a playful nudge. Ruby, don't scare them. But Leo's eyes sparkled with excitement. Haunted? Really? I bet this ship has secret rooms and hidden passages. The idea thrilled them all, and they made a pact to investigate any mysterious areas on the ship they could find. Their chance came the next day. As they explored the lower decks, they noticed a door with a no-entry sign on it. A wave of curiosity washed over them. Do you think there's something special behind that door? Leo whispered, his eyes dancing with excitement. Ruby nodded. Probably. Maybe it's a storage room for treasure. Clara rolled her eyes, trying to be the sensible one. Or it's just where they keep cleaning supplies. But they couldn't resist. They waited until a quiet moment, and then, very carefully, they opened the door. Beyond the door, they found a narrow staircase that spiraled down into what felt like a forgotten part of the ship. The air was a bit cooler, and their footsteps echoed as they made their way down. They emerged into a small, dimly lit room filled with old crates and rusty equipment. As their eyes adjusted to the darkness, they noticed an old map pinned to the wall. The map showed the layout of the ship, but with an unusual addition, there was an X marked on one of the lower decks. Is that a treasure map? Oliver whispered, his voice full of awe. Clara looked closer, squinting at the faded lines and notes scrawled on the map. It might be. Or maybe it's just an old crew area or storage. But for Leo, it was enough to fuel his sense of adventure. Let's follow it. We have to find out what's there. Over the next few days, the kids spent their free time piecing together the map and trying to decipher its clues. They had to navigate through parts of the ship they'd never been to before, passing by rows of gleaming silver doors and secret passageways. One evening, they managed to sneak into a large storage room where they stumbled upon an old, dusty chest hidden behind some boxes. Their eyes widened in excitement as they crept toward it. "Is it locked?" Ruby whispered. "Nope," Leo exclaimed, gently lifting the lid. Inside, they found old books, yellowed letters, and a few strange trinkets. Clara picked up a small, ornate key from among the items, examining it closely. "What do you think this opens?" she asked. "Maybe it's for some hidden part of the ship," Ruby suggested, a grin spreading across her face. But just then, they heard footsteps in the hallway. Startled, they quickly closed the chest and hid behind some boxes, holding their breath as a crew member walked past. Once the coast was clear, they crept out of the room and back to their cabins, clutching their newfound treasure. That night, a storm rolled in. The ship rocked back and forth, and waves crashed against the sides. The crew closed the outside decks for safety, so everyone was gathered inside. As they made their way through one of the hallways, the lights suddenly flickered. It was eerie, and even Clara, who was usually the calmest, felt a chill run down her spine. Maybe we should head back to our cabins," Oliver suggested, glancing around nervously. But then Ruby pointed toward a small, unmarked door at the end of the hall. "Look, that door wasn't there before, was it?" Leo's heart raced with excitement. "Let's check it out." The door was slightly ajar, so they slipped inside. They found themselves in a narrow corridor, one that didn't seem to be on any map they'd seen. At the end of the corridor, they found a large wooden door with a keyhole. Clara's eyes lit up as she remembered the ornate key they'd found. "Do you think?" she whispered, pulling the key out of her pocket. She inserted it into the lock, and with a click, the door swung open. Inside, they found what looked like an old captain's quarters. There was a large desk, a bed, and shelves filled with dusty books and journals. On the desk, they spotted a strange device that looked like a compass, but with markings they didn't recognize. "What do you think this is?" Ruby asked, picking up the compass. Leo examined it closely. "Maybe it's a special compass that leads to something on the ship?" Just then, a crackling voice came over the loudspeaker, warning of rough weather and advising everyone to stay in their cabins. The kids exchanged glances, realizing they needed to head back. The next day was sunny and calm, the storm a distant memory. It was their last day on the cruise, and they were determined to figure out the mystery of the captain's room. Using the strange compass, they followed its direction down into the lower decks once more. Eventually, it led them to a large storage room with a metal door, which they hadn't seen before. With their hearts pounding, they opened the door and found themselves in a small treasure room filled with old relics, model ships, maps, coins, and more. It wasn't exactly a treasure chest of gold, but it was full of incredible artifacts that seemed to hold stories of their own. As they carefully examined the items, a crew member entered, smiling as he saw them. Instead of scolding them, he chuckled. "Found the old museum room, did you?" he said. "This part of the ship was built to honor all the explorers and adventurers of the sea. We don't show it to everyone, just those who really want to explore." The kids beamed, feeling like real adventurers themselves. As the cruise came to an end, Leo, Clara, Ruby, and Oliver returned to their rooms, thrilled with their discovery. They had found an adventure, unlocked mysteries, and made memories that would last a lifetime. Back in Grandma Clara's living room, the story ended with a satisfied sigh. Liam and Sophie looked up at her, their eyes wide with wonder. "Wow, Grandma, that was amazing.